All right, let's dive into this fascinating article.
Yeah?
It's called Homens, Emoções y Carreira. Cuando a busca pelo suceso esbarra en creencias limitantes. Which basically means men, emotions, and career. When the pursuit of success runs into limiting beliefs.
Right.
Now, the author Marynês Pereira, she's got this really interesting background, neuroscience, quantum physics,
Wow.
positive psychology.
Yeah.
And she uses all that to look at how men handle their careers, their lives, all of that. So we're going to unpack some of these ideas about what it means to be a man, how those expectations, especially around emotions, can sometimes get in the way of success.
Yeah, that's really what grabbed me about this article, like, right away.
Yeah.
It digs into those unspoken rules for how men should act, especially at work. This pressure to be tough, stoic, the whole never show weakness thing.
It's like that tough guy image is supposed to be this shield, but sometimes it backfires, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, where does this expectation even come from?
Oh, I think it's so ingrained in our culture.
Yeah.
If you think about it, from when they're little, boys are often told to hold back their feelings, man up, hide any sign that they're hurting.
Right.
And that pressure, it follows them into adulthood. And yeah, it really can affect their work.
It's almost like setting them up for communication problems, not just with their coworkers, but maybe even at home with their families too.
Definitely.
Pereira uses these real-life examples to show just how much this matters. Like, take Marcio.
Yeah.
He's a super successful sales manager, top performer, but he was about to get fired.
Really?
Because of how aggressive he was.
Wow.
Turns out, underneath that tough exterior, he was struggling with some deep, deep vulnerability.
It's so true, we often miss the signs.
Yeah.
And this isn't just some anecdote Marcio situation. It lines up with research on anger, especially when it's bottled up. Not only can it ruin relationships at work, but there are studies linking it to burnout, even physical health problems. Trying to maintain that strong facade, it can really backfire.
It makes you wonder how many guys out there are struggling to keep up appearances and ultimately, paying a price for it.
Yeah.
And then there's this other story about Rui.
Okay.
This executive,
Yeah.
seemingly on the fast track to success. Huge promotion on the horizon. A move to Europe.
Wow, dream package.
Right. But then, curveball, his wife gets pregnant, and she is not happy about relocating.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Tough situation.
So it's like Rui's story really highlights this conflict a lot of men feel between their ambition and those societal expectations.
Yeah, like, what does it mean to be a good husband, a good father?
Exactly.
It's this balancing act, work-life balance. But when society's expectations are so rigid, it can create so much guilt for men trying to juggle everything.
Absolutely. He ends up turning down this amazing opportunity.
He did.
And feels completely stuck.
Wow.
Because he felt like he couldn't talk openly about what he was afraid of, what he really wanted. It's like those unspoken rules of masculinity were trapping him.
Yeah, I get that. That feeling of being trapped, it comes up a lot in these stories. It's like there's this script men are supposed to follow.
Right.
And if they stray from it, it can cause some real internal conflict. Like, take Arter, for example. He's another successful professional Pereira writes about.
Yeah.
And he's constantly putting everyone else's needs before his own.
Arter's story really resonated with me. It's like this endless cycle of self-sacrifice, driven by this guilt if he ever, dares to go after what he wants.
Right.
It makes you wonder how many men are out there silencing their own dreams.
Yeah.
Because they think they should be the selfless provider, always putting everyone else first.
And this idea of self-sacrifice as a virtue, it's often presented as strength.
Yeah.
But it can be really damaging.
I see that.
It can lead to resentment, burnout, feeling like you're not worth anything. Pereira argues that men need to recognize this pattern and break free from that guilt.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Because it seems like these expectations are so deeply ingrained.
Yeah.
Not just in individuals, but in society as a whole.
Well, that's where the article shifts to solutions.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really helpful, I think, for our listeners.
Yeah.
The first thing Pereira brings up is self-responsibility.
Interesting.
It's not about pointing fingers or feeling like you have to carry the weight of everyone else's happiness.
I see.
It's about owning your choices.
Yeah.
Recognizing that you can't control how other people feel.
So it's almost like giving yourself permission to set boundaries.
Exactly.
To say, this is what I'm willing to do, and this is where I draw the line.
Yes. And that leads right into the next solution, open communication.
Mm,
It's about having those tough conversations sometimes with your partner, your family, your boss,
right.
about what you need, what you're afraid of, what you expect. It can feel scary, but it's crucial for building healthy relationships.
If you think about it, if you're not saying what you need, how can anyone possibly meet those needs?
Right.
It's like wandering around a maze in the dark.
Yeah.
Open communication, and to throw some light on the path, even if it's still, winding and complicated.
Absolutely.
But Pereira doesn't just stop at those big picture solutions.
No.
She gets really specific about self-awareness,
Yeah.
really understanding the why behind what you do.
That's so important.
It's like taking a step back and asking, okay, why do I always feel like I have to be the strong one?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that idea come from? Is it helping me or is it holding me back?
It's about challenging those ingrained patterns.
Right.
Starting to notice when you're putting on a mask, pretending to be someone you're not.
Which can be so exhausting, right?
Really?
Like you're always performing,
Yeah.
and that takes a toll.
It does. And Pereira's final point is about breaking that cycle of guilt.
Okay.
It's about allowing yourself to feel all of your emotions.
The good, the bad, the messy ones, without beating yourself up for it.
It's like saying, hey, it's okay to not be okay sometimes.
Exactly.
It's remembering that you're human.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to experience the full range of human emotions.
And when you do that,
Right.
when you give yourself that permission,
Mm-hmm.
you can tap into this authenticity, this freedom
I like that.
that can change not just your career, but your whole life.
This reminds me of something Brené Brown said. She's done a lot of research on vulnerability.
Oh, yeah.
She said, vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
It really flips the script on what we've been taught about masculinity.
Right.
It's saying vulnerability isn't weakness. It's actually where real strength comes from.
It's recognizing that when you let yourself be vulnerable,
Yeah.
you open up the possibility for deeper connection, more authentic communication,
Right.
and ultimately a more fulfilling life.
And that benefits not just men themselves.
But their families, their communities, everyone.
Absolutely.
It's like this ripple effect,
Yeah.
starting with that one brave choice to be authentic. So where does all this leave you, the listener? I mean, we've talked about a lot.
We have.
Societal expectations, those personal struggles. What I really want you to take away from this deep dive
Yeah.
is that this isn't just some theory.
Right.
It's about real change.
Absolutely.
If you heard any of these stories and you felt like, hey, that's me,
Yeah.
then it might be time to,
To take action.
to actually do something.
Pereira's article gives us a roadmap,
Okay.
like a starting point for actually shifting those ingrained patterns and creating a life that's more authentic, more fulfilling.
Yeah, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, exactly.
And it all starts with that self-awareness we were talking about.
Right.
That willingness to really look at yourself, ask those hard questions.
Yeah, like what masks are you wearing? What are those deep down fears that are holding you back?
Are you living by your own values?
Yeah.
Or are you letting those unspoken expectations call the shots?
It's so easy to just go with the flow.
Right.
And once you start asking those questions, you might be surprised by what comes up.
It can be a little scary, right?
At first, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly freeing.
I get that.
It's like you're finally seeing yourself clearly.
Without all the filters.
Exactly.
It's like taking off a pair of glasses you didn't even know you were wearing.
Yeah.
Suddenly everything's in focus.
It is.
But then what? After that aha moment, where do you go from there?
Well, Pereira offers some concrete steps.
Okay.
She talks about setting boundaries, learning to say no to things that drain you, things that don't line up with what matters most to you.
Right.
And she stresses how important it is to get support.
Like having someone in your corner who gets it.
Yeah, whether it's a therapist, a mentor, a good friend.
Someone who can offer a different perspective. It can make a world of difference.
It really can.
Like having a guide on this journey.
Oh, remember, this is a journey,
Yeah.
not a destination.
Right.
There will be bumps in the road. You'll probably slip back into old habits sometimes.
It happens.
But the key is to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Recognize that growth takes time.
Absolutely.
And just keep moving forward.
It's like giving yourself permission to be human.
Exactly.
To mess up.
Yeah.
To learn from those mistakes.
And to celebrate the small wins along the way.
So true.
So, to wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What's one small thing you can do today to start embracing your own emotional authenticity?
I like that.
What can you do to chip away at those limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
And create a life that feels truer to who you really are?
It could be something as simple as having a real conversation with someone you love,
Mm-hmm.
setting a boundary at work,
Yeah.
or even just taking 5 minutes to sit with your feelings.
And really listen to what they're telling you.
That's a good one.
Remember, it all starts with that first step. And every step towards authenticity is a step towards a life that's more fulfilling, more meaningful.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been great.
We hope it's given you something to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe even sparked a little inspiration.
Hopefully.
Until next time, keep exploring
Keep growing.
and keep diving deep.